And here we go. It's another episode of Catfish on Ice, episode 99. We're sneaking up on episode 100, milestone episode. It's going to be the listener appreciation episode. We hope some of our listeners are joining us tonight. We are on YouTube, streaming live on our YouTube channel. Of course, we're part of the Hockey Podcast Network, and we're presented by DraftKings. Rich, how are you doing? This is your host, Chad Mitten, with co-host Rich Howe. Rich, how are you doing? How was your weekend?
Doing really well. Actually went to a in-state rivalry hockey game.
I saw that. That looked fun.
It was a blast. So it's a really small, it's like a rink where people go ice skating, but that's where U of L plays their games, and it was the UK U of L game. That place was packed. I mean, there was people standing all the way around the rink to watch, and it was a lot of fun. It's freezing cold in there, though. That's the only bad part. But
so what do you always say, Rich? You say you live in the hockey desert? Like there's nothing out there, the wasteland, wasteland.
Definitely.
Well, it looks like you found an outlet there with University of Louisville.
We've been before. It was a blast, though. It was such a good game. So U of L was losing 4-2 with 5 minutes left in the third period, and they scored a quick goal, and then they pulled the goalie with like a minute left and scored and tied it up, and then they scored it like 30 seconds in and beat UK. So it was really
wow. And that's a rivalry too. That's a rivalry.
Huge rivalry. People were in the parking lot screaming, and
that's really cool.
It was crazy. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, in our part of even down here in Nashville, college hockey doesn't get nearly as much hype as it does in the Northeast, of course.
Not at all.
But it's just like any other college sport. It's way different than the professional ranks.
Oh yeah.
But really, it sounds like a fun weekend to me. I really wanted to get to a Vanderbilt hockey game. I'm a big Vandy fan. They have some really cool jerseys. They definitely promote a lot of their stuff.
Yeah.
So I've always wanted to get to a Vanderbilt hockey game.
It's a lot of fun. U of L and UK, their teams are like their club teams, so they're not like
that's what it is. Yeah,
full NCAA, but
it's different down here.
Still awesome though. It's so much fun, and their jerseys are really cool. I mean, I enjoy it a lot. And it's only $10 to get in. So
and you support these athletes who are doing what they love. That's what's most important, right?
Yeah, it was really good.
Everyone that is a Titans fan, we are here for you tonight. It's been a really hard weekend to process. It was heartbreaking. I know a lot of Titans fans are angry. A lot of Titans fans are also Preds fans. So what better time is it to just hop on the Preds bandwagon for all those diehard football fans that maybe weren't really focusing on the Preds? Maybe they were all in on the Titans. Well, guess what? We're welcoming you in. The Predators are right there near first place. They will probably break our hearts just like the Titans did. But you know what? It's time to get focused in on the Predators now. This is our team to focus on. Football season's over. It was a hard way to lose. I was working at the time, but I got to see everyone else around me. It was bad, man. I'm telling you, this is bad. And then I don't know if you noticed, but on Saturday night, right after the Titans game, the Preds had a home game, of course, against the Red Wings, and that Bridgestone Arena crowd sounded very quiet there at the beginning. And I'm sure it was. I mean, how can you help it, right? It's like, you got to think that 80-90% of that crowd was also Titans fans.
Oh, it was.
It's really fresh on your mind that your Titans just lost by a field goal as the number one overall seed in their conference. I mean, just a horrible way to lose. So we're here for you. We are here for you, Titans fans. Come on in. The water's fine. Let's get in on this Predators talk. The Nashville Predators are having an outstanding season, outperforming preseason expectations. Join in on the podcast, subscribe, comment on our live streams. We welcome you in. It's going to be a really fun second half of the season.
Yeah, I got a whole other half of the season to go, so there's plenty of games to watch.
And we got I'm sporting the Catfish on Ice podcast t-shirt that we just got made.
Looks so cool.
So we are going to be offering these to a lot of our top listeners. We are going to eventually try to sell some of them as well. But really, it's not about making money off these.
No.
Right now, it's about really letting our top listeners have a shirt. They support the podcast. We want to take care of them as well, show our appreciation. So if you're interested in a shirt, DM us on Twitter at Catfish Ice, comment on the stream. We would love to send you one. Well, we can send so many. Eventually, we can't send one to everybody, but we definitely want to send one to a lot of our top listeners. So DM us if you're interested. We'll send you a shirt. All right.
Looks so cool.
Here's what we got in store for episode 99. We don't have a live game to react to tonight. The Preds play tomorrow night. They did beat the Red Wings.
They sure did.
Which was good.
Very good. Yeah. It was awesome.
So that was really good. And so what we really want to talk about tonight is, of course, what we want to talk about. We got to continue our midseason grades, player grades.
Yep.
And last episode, we did the top 6. We did some of the top players on the team and top of the depth chart, highest paid players, of course. This episode, we're going to focus on the depth forwards. So that means Tanner Janeau is going to get graded tonight. That means Yakov Trennin's going to get graded. Michael Mccarron. Who else am I leaving out? Phillip Thomasino, Nick Cousins, and Colton Sissons. Those are the 6 players we're grading tonight. I don't know Rich's grades. He doesn't know mine.
No.
I'll tell you right now, last week, Rich was a really tough grader.
This is a little tough, too.
This was really tough, man.
It was hard.
I'm right there with you. It was really hard.
You got weird feelings about some of these guys, and it's kind of like you don't want to be too horrible, but then again, you don't want to give them like –
no, because if they find us out in public, they might beat us up, and I don't like our odds, Rich.
Especially McCarron. I would lie and say no. It was an A+.
I don't like our odds against any of them if we have to fight them.
No.
All right, and then of course, we got it's Monday night. We got our clutch performers of the week. We're going to go back and look at the Red Wings game. We're going to look back at all games going back to last week, of course. And we are going to give you our clutch performers of the week, the top 3 players that we think perform the best in the clutch moments. That's what we do here. That's how we do our top 3 stars of the week on the Catfish and Ice podcast. We do it every Monday. I've already put out my top 3 on the Catfish and Ice Twitter account. A few surprises on there, Rich. I don't know if you were a little surprised by that.
I was a little bit. One of the guys, I really thought about putting him on there, but I wound up not doing it.
So I can't wait to hear yours. I have no idea what your 3 players are going to be. I have a feeling I know one of them, but we'll save that for when we get to it.
Yep.
Kyle Perkins, our buddy from Renegades of Puck, joins us every Monday to give Perk's picks. He's going to be joining us at the top of the hour. So in about 20 minutes from now, we will have him on. And guess what? We have a new guest. Not a new guest because he actually has been on the podcast in the past. But .com, Puckpedia.com does all the salary cap information, talks about free agent acquisitions, trades, salary cap, how does a player affect the cap, all that stuff. You want to use Puckpedia.
Absolutely.
Rich, history lesson here. Hart actually joined us in the early days of the podcast on episode 6.
6. Wow.
And he came back for episode 99. We were able to get him for like 20 minutes. Very busy dude. I'm telling you, Hart is slam busy this time of year.
I bet.
He was very nice to come on for about 15, 20 minutes.
Yep.
Talk about the Phillip Forsberg contract negotiations. Talk about the Preds' current salary cap situation. Mm-hmm. And I got some good news for Predators fans. The Preds have a lot of money and spending power right now.
They sure do.
They've got a lot of leverage. They've got, even going into the next offseason, David Poile has a lot of chess pieces to move around right now. He's got a lot of leverage. So we talked about that with Hart. And, of course, we looked at the NHL trade deadline, some of the top targets that are going to be out there. Very good interview. Cool. Can't wait for you to hear that. If you're watching the stream right now, you're going to have to go download the podcast the next day. Yep. So go ahead and do that. It will actually be up later tonight, but if you stay up late. But definitely when you wake up tomorrow morning, check it out on all podcast platforms. The interview with Puckpedia will be on there.
Absolutely.
All right, let's dive right.
Podcasts.
Yes, let's dive right into episode 99, Rich, and let's continue our mid-season grades. How about we go ahead and start with the player that everybody loves and can't get enough of, and that is Tanner Janeau. How about you give us your grade? Let's let you give your grade for him first. Your mid-season grade for Tanner Janeau.
I gave him a big fat A.
Big fat A.
That dude, not an A+, an A. Man,
yeah.
So awesome to watch this guy play, to get his opportunity to play. Undrafted player, played some last year, playing a lot this year. 25 points, 13 goals, 12 assists. He is 4th in points right now for all rookies. Definitely a candidate for the Calder. He does a lot of things that those other rookie candidates can't or won't do.
Yes, good
carries
point.
The puck up full length of the ice. Will fight people at the drop of the hat if they mess with Saros. Just I don't even know what else to say about him. I mean, like, very exciting to have him on the team this season playing the way he's playing. It's a breath of fresh air, that's for sure. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, we got a taste of Tanner Janeau last season when he got in the lineup for a little bit. But no one saw this coming. I mean, no one saw that him being in the Calder Trophy race.
No.
And they actually polled NHL.com writers. I think it was like 15 writers they polled as far as who is in the Calder Trophy. Like, if they had the Calder Trophy voting today, how would it rank? And Tanner Janeau came in 4th. But he got like 22 votes, I think. I'm going to pull it up to get that right number. But he's in 4th so he's getting noticed finally. Like, for the longest time, Tanner Janeau wasn't even getting noticed in the Calder Trophy race at all.
Right.
Like, it was all just Lucas Raymond and Trevor Zegras and Moritz Seider, which is rightfully so because those are 3 outstanding rookies as well. But it's really cool to see Tanner Janeau finally starting to get some notice around the league as well in this because if you're talking about league wide, Tanner Janeau is completely unknown.
Oh yeah, definitely
unknown. I mean, everyone's starting to really learn who Tanner Janeau is this year around the league.
Yep.
And he's got a great story. All right, let me give you my grade for him. I'm going A-. I'm going A-. I'm not going fat A. The only reason he gets the minus from me is he goes to the penalty box a little too much for me. That's all I got for him.
You're right. He does do
that. That's the only, if I'm his professor or teacher, he corrects that and then he's perfect.
Yeah.
But he's not perfect. He goes to the penalty box a little too much. I give him an A-. A- is still really good for a rookie, especially a player who no one expected. I mean, he could very understandably be a top 6 player on this team if John Hines decides to put him there. But he fits his role better in the bottom 6. And so that's why we're giving him his grade tonight. But I give him an A-. He lays out the hits, of course. He can still score goals. He is just a tone setter. That's what I really think of about him is he's a tone setter. And
there's a reason, and we'll talk about it with the other 2 guys. There's a reason why that is your most consistent line of all of them. I mean, Granlund, Duchene, and Forsberg is the other, but you always see these 3 on that third line together, and there's a reason because they set the tone, like you said, for the whole team. So,
but let's think about this. All right, Rich. I know this is only for this season, but Tanner Janeau has scored 32 points in 58 career NHL games. I mean, that is over a half a point per game from a player who many people think of as an enforcer or a gritty, rough it up type of player. But the dude still gets points as well. He still affects the scoring as well. So it's like he is the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And you got to think his game is going to keep getting better and better. You know, like I said, the only knock I have on him is he's got to figure out a way to not take the costly penalties, maybe check back his emotions at certain times in a game so that the team doesn't have to kill a big penalty in a big moment.
That's true.
I mean, we can say that about a lot of players on this team right now.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just Tanner Janeau.
That's true.
That's that's nitpicking for me, really. But that's why I give him an A-.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little bit, but I mean, it's like you said, like they need to know, and it's really like you said, all of them, they need to learn to pick their moments when to take the penalties.
Yeah,
like,
well, I mean, let's look at last season. Tanner Janeau only had 2 penalty minutes in 15 games.
Well,
this season, he has 78 penalty minutes in 43 games. So if he can cut back on the penalty minutes just a little bit, I know he's still going to take a lot of penalties because that's the way he plays the game.
Yep.
But if he can cut back on them a little bit, check his emotions just a little bit, maybe he gets an A+ from me. I give him an A-.
Yep. I think that's a good one.
Let's go on next to Yakov Trenin.
Yakov Trenin.
And I'm giving him a B+.
All right. Cool.
I almost gave him an A, but I just can't go that far with him just yet.
Not quite yet.
I don't want him to get big-headed. I don't want to overstate what he's doing. I'm going to give him a B+. The biggest thing about Yakov Trenin I've loved to see about him this season is he's really starting to figure out ways to be a goal scorer, which is really what his top MO is being a goal scorer.
Mm-hmm.
Before he came over here, everyone kind of scouted him as a goal scorer. Well, he's shown that this season. Yes. He scored some really big goals this season for the Preds in big moments. And he's another young player that I think is going to just keep getting better. He's going to keep developing. He's playing these crucial minutes for the Preds. So I give him a B+, a very respectable B+.
Yep. Well, I gave him a B+ as well. That's kind of funny. So I wrote down some notes. So he's already beaten his point total from last season in fewer games than he did last season.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons, like we talked about just a minute ago for Janeau, why the third line is so consistent is because they set the tone. This is something I noticed like quite a bit about him. He is very tenacious on the forecheck, like a lot. Like he really goes after the puck a lot in that situation. And another note I wrote, he's the definition of what Predators look for in their new hard-hitting identity. Like him and Janeau and even Sissons this season, that's what they do. That's their identity line.
It's really the identity line. I like that. You got the money line, you got the identity line.
That's right.
From Rich. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he's already broken his career high in points, which his point, I mean, he's still such a young player.
Right.
But, I mean, yeah, so he's got 15 points, 10 goals already this season. If he can break 20 goals this year,
oh, man,
we can almost call him the replacement in production of Craig Smith, dare I say.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Because for the longest time, Craig Smith was our 20-plus goal scorer. If Yakov Trenin can come in and be the new Craig Smith when it comes to scoring goals, that's a nice thing to have. I'm just saying.
Definitely.
So he's already got 10 goals this year. He's played all 41. He's played 41 games this year, so he's been available. He's been durable.
Mm-hmm.
He's 94 hits, so he's a very physical player, of course, like we know he is. He's defensively speaking, he's right on pace with what he did last year.
Right.
In the same amount of games. So
I was surprised.
He hasn't dipped at all. It's not, you're not getting a sophomore slump, if you will, from Yakov Trenin at all.
I was surprised that he didn't have as many penalty minutes. It seemed like he's been like in more scraps and stuff, but I guess it just hasn't turned into like an actual penalty or something. But
no, he's done what I would like to see Tanner Janeau do a little bit better of is maybe not take all the penalties as much. Yeah, Trenin's only got 31 penalty minutes this year.
Yeah,
for the way he plays, that's pretty low.
Yeah. Definitely.
That's good. That's a good thing to point out there. All right, Let's move. Who do you want to go to next? How about we just go with that whole line there? Let's go with Colton Sissons.
Though Colton Sissons. So I gave him a B+ as well. He is on pace to have his best season ever of his career with the Predators. He's another one of those identity players that there's a reason he's on that line that he's on, and he's useful in a lot of different situations. He's kind of took over for where when they lost Calle Jarnkrok. He kind of does a little bit of everything, I think. And I mean, glad that he wasn't one of the ones picked to go in the expansion draft.
Yeah, and I was all about that.
Well, I know,
Rich, you remember how worried I was about that leading into it.
I did.
But yeah, he's a glue guy. That I think of him as a glue guy. I mean, we kind of know what his role is always going to be.
Yep.
He's always going to be like a very strong depth player and leader for hopefully the Preds for a long time. I mean, I would hate to lose him. The thing about Sissons is when he first came in, especially in that Stanley Cup, you always hear the hashtag Sissons scored.
Yes.
A lot of people thought he was going to evolve into a more talented goal scorer, and he's just never really become that type of player. And that's okay. Not every NHL player is going to be an elite goal scorer.
Yeah.
The thing about Sissons is he plays his role so perfectly. He does all the dirty work out there.
Absolutely.
He blocks shots. He's in the right spot defensively as a forward.
Yeah.
Which is that's a hard thing to ask for. You don't see that very often anymore.
No.
And
absolutely.
so he's yet another player on this Preds team that's on pace to set a career high in points.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a lot of players on this team. Sissons already has 18 points. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but for the type of player he is, that is a lot actually.
That is especially for a third line production, that's pretty good.
And his career high is only 30 points set in 2018-19. So he's on pace. If he can stay healthy and play in all the games, he could set a new career high for himself as well. And he's only 28 years old. That is still in the prime of his career as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give Colton Sissons a B+ as well. We're right on the same page tonight, Rich.
Look at that. That's awesome.
I'm not going to give him an A because A's are really set aside for the players who are just really showing out and just outperforming everything. I give him a B+, a very solid, respectable B+ from Colton Sissons. And if the Predators lost him in the expansion draft, I'm telling you, it would be – I love Calle Jarnkrok, but don't even talk to me about swapping those two out.
Yeah, I mean, the way the seasons are progressing, it's looking like keeping him was definitely the better option. He's just turned into like a good his role just fits perfectly for his game, what he does on that line. So
and I'm telling you, he has captain like tendencies.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, he carries himself like a captain. He's almost the captain of that bottom six. Like,
oh yeah, I think so. All
right, let's go to the next player, and this is a player who has gotten a lot of playing time this season, and he's he going into the season, this player was like very much like, how much is he really gonna play? But he's becoming a more regular in this lineup, and that's Michael Mccarron.
Yep. These were hard to do.
Michael Mccarron is a player that going into this season hadn't even played 100 games in his NHL career, but he's already been in 20 games this season. He's never going to be a point scorer. That's not why he's out there, of course. He fits John Hines' system. On a lot of NHL teams, Michael Mccarron wouldn't be in the starting lineup. He would be a minor league player for a lot of NHL teams. But for this Predators team, he fits the mold perfectly, just like we're talking about, because he's another hard-nosed, hard-hitting player that just fits the perfect identity of this team that John Hines has built and David Poile has built. And so with that, I'm going to give Michael Mccarron a C+.
Oh, all right.
I'm not going to go into the B and A territory because he makes a lot of mistakes. He is what he is. That's what I'm going to leave it at. He is what he is. He does some things well. He's a good scrapper. You know, he's done some good things this season to fit the Predators mold, but he still really scares me in a starting lineup for a playoff team. He really scares me. I'm sorry.
I agree.
And 100%. all I can think about is he was on that breakaway. He was on that breakaway a couple games ago, and it looked like he was in quicksand. I thought I was watching a slow motion replay, and I'm just like, is he really going to make the right plays and avoid the really costly mistakes in playoff crunch time? You don't have me there yet, so I'm going to give him a C+. C+.
Yeah. I was a little tougher on him. I gave him a C-.
I think that's the worst grade you've given out this year.
Probably is. I mean, he does his job, like you said. He does absolutely what John Hines likes. He's like 6'6" or something crazy, big, huge dude. He does his job, and he takes that for his teammates. That's a note that I wrote down. He definitely does a good job of doing that, but he is so slow. I mean, he is a very slow skater on that breakaway. The goaltender had like all day to definitely be able to read what he was going to do. So I guess on that line, I mean, I know you're not going to get much. Like he averages like 9 and a half minutes of ice time. Yeah. I know you're not going to get like a whole bunch of production out of people like that, but I'd like to see just a little bit more. I think he's only got like 2 points so far in 20 games.
He's never had more than 4 points in an entire season, I think.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it's kind of it would be cool to get like he's not going to be the person to do it, but just to get somebody else in there who could maybe do what he does, but also score some points.
Well, the way people think about it is Mccarron's taking up a spot for Igor Finasiev, or maybe he's taking up a spot. We got to keep waiting. We're waiting for Tommy Novak, honestly.
Yeah. Definitely. That's true.
We would switch out Mccarron for Tommy Novak in a heartbeat, but
I would too.
Novak is dealing with he got injured playing for the Admirals. Yep. And so we got to figure out if he's going to ever make it back into the lineup. I hope he does, because I would much rather have Tommy Novak in the lineup over Mccarron.
Yeah,
I just don't feel very strongly about Mccarron being in the lineup. He's like really the only player that I'm just not crazy about. But while we have him, he does make the hits. He does play that style that the Predators carry themselves with, that reputation.
Yeah.
So
I really feel that's why he's there. That's probably until Novak gets back. It's the only reason is because he's a big dude. He can push people around and he's not going to take crap off anybody. So those are his strong suits. So get Novak back.
Yes, we need Tommy Novak back.
That's what we say.
All right, let's go on to the veteran of the group. Well, Sissons is kind of a veteran too, I guess. Yeah. But Nick Cousins. What grade are you giving Nick Cousins?
I gave Nick Cousins a C.
That low? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He's a veteran. I know he's not like a massive goal scorer or anything, but I think he could show a little more production.
That's a good point.
Would be awesome. He goes quiet for a while for some stretches, and then all of a sudden he'll have like an awesome goal when you need one, which that's a good quality. And his other good quality is he plays in the dirty areas and does things that people don't want to do, and he agitates other players on the opposing team, which that's awesome. I like that about him. But just a little more, need a little bit more from him.
I trust Nick. I do trust Nick Cousins, excuse me, in a clutch moment, especially in the playoffs, way more than I do Michael McCarron.
You're right. Yeah,
but
that's true.
I feel like they're similar players in a way.
Yeah.
They almost like Cousins is obviously got a little bit more offensive pizzazz to his game, but but I just Mike Twitter's on here. He says Cousins was getting better a few weeks ago. I think that's what he's trying to say. Cousins was getting better a few weeks ago.
He was.
Well, the thing about Cousins is he shows flashes. I mean, it's not like he's invisible out there. You see him doing what he's got to do.
Yeah.
And he's another player that gets in on the scrums. He takes up for his teammates.
Yep.
I do think he's somewhat of a veteran leader out there for these depth players that we're talking about tonight grading. But here's my grade. I didn't give him a C plus. Or would you give him, Rich, a C plus?
Just a C, just a regular C.
I'm giving him a B minus. Yeah, I mean,
that's close.
I feel like he's serving his role in the bottom six as a veteran leader. I think that's why he's kept around. I don't think he's coming back next season. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent, and I very much think that David Poile needs to go ahead and just not pursue him, let him move on, let another team take a stab at him, and let's create some more room for some of these other up and coming players like an Igor Finasiev. So I still give him a B minus because I do think he's playing hard out there. He leaves everything on the ice. He is one of those players where he's giving it his all. He doesn't take plays off. That's what pushes him up to a B minus for me. And he does have 6 goals this season, 7 assists, 13 points.
Yep.
His penalty minutes are down. He's only got 12 penalty minutes. He only plays 12 minutes of ice time, 12 and a half minutes. I mean, it's not like he's a very heavily leaned on player at all.
Yeah.
But in his role, he's a better version of Michael Mccarron is what I'll give him.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's really good. If we could get Cousins production out of Michael Mccarron, we'd be in a really good spot.
All right, we got
more production out of him.
We have one more player, don't we, Rich? Who do we have left?
We do. I'm gonna let you go first on this one. It's Thomasino.
Phillip Thomasino.
This one was hard, and I might get in trouble. I don't know for what
you're gonna be. You're gonna be in a lot of trouble, Rich. I can already tell by the way you're talking here.
I don't know. You go first though. It's your turn to go first. So
I mean, I'm not gonna penalize Thomasino's grade because his hype was so high by everybody. That's not his fault. I mean, he was he was the one that was supposed to be in the Calder Trophy race, not Tanner Janeau.
Yep.
I'm going to give Phillip Thomasino a flat B. I can't put him in A territory because he's not living up to those massive expectations that everyone thought he was.
Right.
Thomasino, but I cannot fault Thomasino for how snake bitten he's been this year. He's right up there.
No.
He's right up there with Eeli Tolvanen and Matt Duchene when it comes to just he's been the victim of really insane saves by the opposing goaltender. Mm-hmm. He's been the victim of bouncing pucks. I mean, he's had some bad luck. He should have way more goals than he has this season. Yep. And that would just completely change everything. And he's still he's trending up right now, Rich. He is. Lately, he is starting to really, really gain some confidence.
Yep.
He's getting some assists lately. He's figuring out ways to make things happen. So I give him a B. And honestly, by the end of the season, I feel like he's trending up. If we do these grades again at the end of the season, he could easily push up to an A for me. But right now, I'm giving him a B.
Yep. All right. Well, I don't feel too bad then because I gave him a C plus. So that's not too horrible. Not too far away from a B. So he's got.
Why wouldn't you put him at Rich?
He's got. What'd you say?
So why wouldn't you why didn't you give him a B?
No. He's doing really good. I will give him that. He just needs to clean up a few things. I've just seen some mistakes, but that'll come with time. I mean, and experience, and I will give him that. It's just, I don't know. I just don't feel like it's definitely not A territory. But like you said, he's snake bitten. Plus, you can't blame him for the hype and all that stuff. So I think if you keep him consistent with his line mates, I think that'll help a lot as well. And I know a lot of people want to put him on the top line or the second line, but I just don't feel comfortable doing that. But that's just me. What do I know? Right, well, Kyle? What do I know?
Thomasino hadn't really had, and not to be too critical, he hasn't had a whole lot to work with.
That's true. You're right. I will give you that.
He has been. I'd like to see the amount of different line mates he's had this year. It's got to be. He's had to have played with 10 to 15 different people.
Yeah.
He's been not a lot of consistency. They had him and Tolvanen together there for a while, and then he was up with Johansson for a bit, if I remember right, and just
I think he needs some consistency.
Yeah,
that would help him out.
What?
Stable line mates. I'm not even going to say he needs super great line mates. Just some consistency would be huge for him.
He's got 4 points in his last 5 games.
So
I mean, he's definitely trending back up. He's starting to get some shots on goal.
Mm-hmm.
He had 5 shots on goal against Vancouver. I know that was a really ugly game from the team as a whole, but he had 5 shots on goal in that game. And I mean, I think he is the perfect example of a player that you have to show a little patience with. Everyone had crazy expectations for this kid because he just dominated on every level he had ever played on. Yep. And the kid still got 15 points in 37 games. It's not like he is completely just invisible and a bust this year. But I see your point, Rich, like C+, like let's keep it tempered here. But I couldn't go that harsh on him. I just couldn't.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's, after this season, he gets this season under his belt. I think expectations for him are really going to jump up next year.
As a 20-year-old in his first NHL season, I feel on the type of team that the Preds are and the type of player he is, he doesn't really fit the mold of this team. We keep talking about certain players fit the mold of how this team plays. I mean, Thomasino, his skill set doesn't really match this team that much, the way they play.
Right.
So the fact that he's still got 15 points in 37 games on this team, I give him strong marks for that. So
Yep.
All right. So with that, we've got Kyle Perkins joining us. I think you already know that. You heard him here. He was getting in on the Phillip Thomasino grade here. How you doing, Kyle? How was your weekend, man?
Oh, not bad. Not bad at all. Watched a little bit of football here and there, and I enjoyed a lot of it, really, really a lot, because I hate Green Bay so much. And the fact that they lost and it was cold and they lost to a California team makes it just that much better.
Yeah.
So let me frame this for everybody, and you can't make this up. I grew up as a Packers fan before the Titans moved here, was a huge Brett Favre fan. That was my first NFL team. I had like 3 different Brett Favre jerseys. So I will always have a love for the Packers in my heart. But when the Titans moved here, I obviously adopted the Titans, and now the Titans are my number 1 team. The Titans and the Packers play, I'm totally going for the Titans.
Oh, yeah.
But for the second time in 3 or 4 years, I've had to watch both the Packers and the Titans lose in the same day in the playoffs. If you go back to a couple years ago, Titans lost to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. And I was like, all right, that hurts, but I still got the Packers. They might make the Super Bowl. And then they lose to the 49ers. Fast forward to this past weekend. Titans lose in a heartbreaking game. And once again, I'm thinking, I still got the Packers. I've still got 1 team left. I can just hitch my wagon to the Packers. Both teams lose on a last-second field goal.
Yep.
I got nothing.
Yeah.
My football heart is broken, and I don't even want to watch football.
Yeah.
Don't even want to think about it.
And there's no Tom Brady this season. That was a crazy end of that game.
This entire weekend for the NFL was just insane. It was so nuts.
I think ratings for the Super Bowl are probably going to be not good.
I don't know about that, Rich.
I don't know
about
that.
No
Tom Brady. He's the main draw, man. Everybody loves.
You've still got a lot. You've still got so many superstars. I mean, a lot of people are into Joe Burrow.
Yeah, you're right.
The quarterback for the Bengals, the Rams. You got the LA market. Matt Stafford's fun to watch.
Yeah, and then
of course Pat Mahomes. Yeah. So I think their ratings will be just fine. But
I don't know.
Mahomes is going to be your new face of that league.
Yeah.
So
I do think the NFL really wanted a Tom Brady Aaron Rodgers rematch.
No,
at
absolutely.
Lambeau Field. We know that the NFL is not fixed, because if it was fixed, they would have set up Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers
Oh,
in the
yeah.
championship game.
That's huge money for them right there.
Absolutely. So what's everybody like? Are we all like go Bengals now, or what are we like?
I was
I don't know.
Everything I touch in this NFL playoffs, the team loses.
I wanted the Bills to win so bad.
I wanted the Bills to win too. I was like all on them.
Because their fan base is just so fun. They're all these bunch of psychopaths and they're awesome. I love them.
So here's another thing that's going to blow y'all's mind. The Bills and the Titans, which used to be the Houston Oilers, same franchise, they came into the NFL at the same time in 1960, and neither franchise has ever won a Super Bowl.
Wow.
Ouch.
So you're talking about two. I mean, you can't really compare the Titans fan base to the Bills fan base because you're talking about two different, because the team moved.
Yeah.
But you're talking about two franchises that just can't figure out a way to win a Super Bowl.
Yep. Which you should talk about our poll that you put out.
Oh yeah, let's go ahead and get into that. Yeah.
Now that we're talking about football,
I like to ask this question. Like I feel like I ask this question ask myself this question,
right?
Like every 3 or 4 years, and it changes every 3 or 4 years. What people think.
Yep.
Because the Nashville's never won a professional sports championship in anything.
No.
Really, they haven't won any college championships either, if you want to count Vanderbilt, unless you want to count college baseball. But anyway, which team is closer to a sports championship? The Titans winning a Super Bowl or the Preds winning a Stanley Cup? Which happens first? And we got our buddy Max Greenberg said, will either one of them ever happen? ? I'm like, come on, man. One of them will eventually happen. Don't be a smartass. But
that's right.
Overwhelmingly in the poll, not a lot of votes, but overwhelmingly they went 88% Preds, Titans 22%. I'm like,
I actually voted for the Titans because
it's a really hard question, though, honestly.
It is. I know it is super hard to put together a team that can make a Super Bowl run, but man, that Stanley Cup is so hard to win.
You got to win 16 games. Hard. You got to win 16 games in the playoffs to win a Stanley Cup.
And when you have like teams like Arizona that can beat like, the powerhouses in the NHL, it's so hard to pick and to get a team together that can make that run. But
you can have everything figured out as an NHL franchise. You can have all the boxes checked. You can have the goaltender. You can have the top line. You can have the right coach. You can have it all figured out, and you have one bad playoff series, and you're not going to win a Stanley Cup.
Absolutely. What do you think about this from Mike Twitter?
What?
I think the Titans are going to get Tom Brady. Wow.
Mike Twitter, do you have some inside sources that we don't know about? Like, did you talk to Adam Schefter earlier today or something? Because that's some hot takes. That's about as hot of a take as you can have right there.
I don't see Tom and Taylor Lewan getting along real well.
Yeah.
Well, there's even people out there trying to say that Aaron Rodgers is going to leave Green Bay and that the Titans should try to go after him. But not to turn this into a full-on Titans podcast here, but I will just say this real quick. We talk about bad contracts on the Preds all the time, Matt Duchene, Ryan Johansson, all that stuff. But guess what? You want to talk about a bad contract that looks really bad right now? Ryan Tannehill is owed a lot of money, and the Titans are stuck with him. So they're not going out and getting some great elite quarterback, most likely. So we can just go ahead and forget about that. That's just how I feel about it. But what do I know? I'm just Fred's podcast host.
That's right.
All right. But that is perfect timing before we get into Perks picks and our clutch performers of the week, because this week, our sponsor, DraftKings, is giving you a really good offer with the last 4 teams left in the NFL playoffs. There are only 4 teams remaining, and that means only 4 teams left for you to bet on at the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, counting down to Super Bowl 56. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN and get 56 to 1 odds on any NFL team. Bet just $5 and win $280 in free bets if your team wins. That's promo code THPN for 56 to 1 odds at the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 years or older in New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager is required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And if you're not a new customer, you can experience the conference championships with same-game parlays. You can combine multiple bets for the same game for a bigger payout. And, of course, DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want, so it's really easy to use. I am on the DraftKings Sportsbook app as well, and I can promise you it is really easy to use and very safe and a lot of fun. So, what do we want to go with first, gentlemen? Let's get into Perk's picks, and then we'll do our clutch performers of the week.
That sounds good.
We still also have to – we're going to have Kyle stick around with us because we're going to all preview the Seattle Kraken game, which is coming up on Tuesday night. Let's get some revenge because that was the first game of the season, and I feel like the Preds are a much different team than they were then, and I'm feeling really good about this game. Way better than some of these other trap games that they've played lately. I feel like we're going to get a little bit of revenge on the Seattle Kraken, but we'll save that for when we preview it. Let's get to Kyle Perkins here. Let's let him get it started with this week's Perks picks.
So the first one is you're a 10, son, and that would be Matt Tennyson.
Oh, there you go.
That's good.
The journeyman defenseman has 3 points in 2 games. He's been all over the league. I'm trying to pull up where all he's been.
A lot of places.
San Jose, Carolina, Buffalo, the Devils. So he's been all over the place, and right now he has the most points that he's had in a season since 2016-17.
Hey,
which the most he's ever had is 6. So
wow,
I stand corrected. He's had 8 points. He's had 6 assists.
And he's about to be 32 years old, and he's been in the league for a while, like you said.
Yeah.
But that just goes back to what we've talked about several times, that they have guys coming up that are contributing. Came in, played, doesn't look lost. It seems like the system they're asking these guys to follow is fairly simple, and if they're willing to buy into it, it's effective.
Yep.
So that, and go ahead.
Can I ask you this, Kyle? Do you think that Tennyson's just a placeholder until Dante Fabro gets back? And
absolutely,
because you definitely have. I feel like you have your top 6, starting defensemen locked in right now. If you're John Hines, with Borowiecki and Benning, with Carrier, Yossi, Ekholm, Fabro, I think we're all in agreement that. I do know there's some chatter out there for Jeremy Davies as well, but
Jeremy Davies looked good. He really can't complain about his play. So you were just talking about Boro and Benning. I looked this up a little bit earlier. They're 8th in the league as a defense pair for expected goals against. Per 60.
So once you get Dante Fabro back in the lineup regularly, and you get this crew back together, I mean, Tennyson probably moves back out, but he's serving his role and he's doing what he's got to do while we need him.
Yeah,
you love to
absolutely.
See it.
It's the guys that keep coming up and having to fill in. Cole Smith has not been terrible. Mccarron has looked a lot better than I ever expected him to look.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just can't get out of my head him trying to punch the ref last year. And
I can't get the slow motion breakaway out of my head by Mccarron.
Trennan looks so weird on a breakaway, but Mccarron was a whole nother level.
Yeah,
I thought he was Kyle. I thought he was never going to get there.
I did too. I thought he had the puck.
He had the loose puck at like right at the the midway point of the ice, and I just thought he was never going to get to the goaltender.
The goaltender was sitting there like going, "Okay, what do I need to do? Let me check my watch. He's going to make it down here in a minute." He's like, "I got plenty of time to figure out where he's going to go with it."
Yeah, exactly.
There wasn't any fancy dangles by Mccarron. We'll say that. That's for sure.
No.
It was. I'm going this way, and we're going to see what happens.
Yeah. No dirty dangles, as the kids say. So
no.
he's the last forward on this team that you want to see on a breakaway.
Yeah.
I don't know Thomasino anymore. It's going to be a post. Poor kid.
True. All right, let's get to your next one here, man.
The next one is Filthy Phil, and that's Phillip Forsberg, and 32 points in 30 games. 20 goals, 12 assists, and what's even more impressive about those 20 goals, 17 of them are even strength.
Wow.
That's impressive. Most of the guys you see racking up a ton of goals are cleaning up on the power play.
Mm-hmm.
They're potting a bunch on the power play. That man advantage gives you a huge advantage for scoring goals.
Mm-hmm.
And Phil's just doing the work, and he did it again. The whole I'm going to put my arm out and make you get away from me, and I'm going to score this goal with one hand. He pulled another one of those this week.
Yeah,
I guess that's his new signature move to go along with that hip check.
Yep.
So,
and he's missed some time.
I really love Phillip Forsberg's variety of the way he's scoring this year, though. He's given us plenty of those types of wrister, sniper type of shots that we know he can do. But he's really scoring a lot of dirty goals this season as well. Or like Kyle's saying, those power moves where he just bullies his way into the goal, and just his finishing ability has been incredible this year. Like when he gets those really good moments, he's finishing. I think he's like over a 20% shooting percentage.
23%. I just looked at it there a minute ago.
His finishing ability is insane. So we've been talking about this for multiple episodes for good reason, but later on in this episode, if you download the podcast the next day, it's coming up later in this episode. We interviewed Hart from Puckpedia, and he really gave us some really good thought from his perspective when it comes to contract negotiations, when it comes to Phillip Forsberg. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that.
We'll go on to the next one because they're very similar, and that's Matt Duchene. The white whale has arrived.
Finally.
Fans and everybody have waited so long to see him play well, and it just seems like it's night in, night out. It's not really a hot streak. He's consistently being one of the three best players on the ice almost every night.
Absolutely.
38 points in 39 games, 19 goals, 19 assists, 8 power play goals. So there is Nashville's power play sniper.
There you go.
That's the guy getting them, and he's like Phil is this year. You see some fancy goals, and you also see some where he's standing right on that corner of the net, and he's just barely tipping it in, or it's a little rebound and he hits it.
Yep.
And he looks like he's working harder.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that any of the players on any NHL team aren't working hard, but you could tell the last couple of seasons, Duchene would take a shift off. He'd just be kind of casually going through the zone or back to the bench. No, it's hard work every shift, and it's fun to watch him play when he's playing the way he's played this year. Besides Yossi, he's probably the most entertaining guy to watch move the puck up the ice. Yes, Craig Smith style goals.
That's right.
Thank you, Mike Twitter. That's exactly it. Those Craig Smith style goals. Just whatever it takes.
I like what you said about watching him and Roman Yossi play, because Matt Duchene, he does have the dirty dangles because that dude, man, he can carry that puck so well and just move it like in ways that, most players just can't do that. And it is a lot of fun when he is on his game and he's passing well and getting all those moves. It is very entertaining to watch. That's for sure.
And you have such a difference between him and Forsberg because Forsberg's going to Mack truck you on that one side, and then Duchene's going to try to break your ankles in on the other. And then Granlund's in the middle being this little sneaky guy coming up the middle. That's, and you forget about him, and that's why he has a mountain of assists. So,
well, I also think that Matt Duchene has benefited greatly from finding a set line for him to be on for the most part. With, I think he's benefiting hugely from playing with Mikael Granlund. I mean, that is a match made in heaven. Like, I cannot get enough of that line playing together. And it's like they just know where each other's going to be at all times. A lot of credit goes to Granlund for being such an excellent puck distributor. But you want to talk about just hitting the jackpot that we figured out a way to get these three players together and just let them go to work. It's been awesome to see.
Absolutely.
Those three guys, whenever they're on the ice, is just they normally take over a game whenever they're out. It's like I said, it's entertaining to watch. Nashville hasn't had a line that looked like that since the Jofa line back when they were the Jofa line.
When they first came in, that's a really good comparison. That's a really good comparison.
Yep. Love it.
So the next one, and we've talked about him being kind of like the Rodney Dangerfield of the NHL this year, as in he got no respect, but Tanner Janeau is finally getting some respect. Started off with the NHL PR coming out and saying, hey, if you don't have this guy on your fantasy team and he's not picked up in your league, get him now.
Yep. Hey, Kyle, time out. Go figure in the Catfish and Ice League. My buddy who has the worst team in the league, the Dallas Stars guy, Clayton, has Tanner Janeau on his team.
Yep.
Yeah, I know because I almost sent him a trade request.
He is checking his team. Hey, he is not a lame duck team. He does check his roster every day. The poor guy just has horrible luck, and he's never played fantasy hockey before. But I guess Rich hasn't either, and Kyle hasn't either. But, yeah, he's had horrible luck. But he is checking his team every day.
I hurt my team to beat Matt. I'm going to tell you right now, I hurt my team to beat Matt this week.
Awesome.
I was keeping an eye on that matchup. That was close. Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dropped a goalie. I didn't want to drop to get a defenseman to get those extra
I'm telling you, I didn't realize fantasy hockey is way harder than fantasy football. Fantasy football, it's like you set your lineup for the week and you don't have to really look at it.
Yeah.
Fantasy hockey is like a full-time job. I mean, I check my roster like 3 or 4 times a day. I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you've got so many people going out for COVID and everything else. And
you've got to literally, because if you don't check it closely, you'll end up leaving players in your starting lineup who are not playing. And then you'll leave players on your bench who are playing. And then, I mean, this has happened to me where I think I went a couple of days and didn't look at my team because I was distracted. And I had Phillip Forsberg on my bench somehow, and he scored like 30 points. And I swear I wanted to go cry in the corner somewhere. I'm like, that's the worst when you have a player on your bench.
I only had 2 of 3 goalie appearances as of Sunday morning. I had to get a goaltender like really quick.
Oh, you get penalized. You get penalized for that, don't you?
Yeah.
You lose all their points, I think. Is that how it goes, Kyle?
Yep. If you don't have all 3 appearances, you lose all your goalie points for the week.
So how crazy is this? All right. So between me and Rich, can't make this up. We are separated by 5 total points over the entire season.
That's crazy.
Dang.
Rich has 4,058 points. I have 4,053. I mean, you can't write that kind of stuff. I mean, that's like crazy. But it's been a lot of fun.
It is fun.
Get Tanner. What we're trying to tell you is if you're playing fantasy hockey, go see if Tanner Janeau is available in your league.
Definitely.
That's what we're trying to tell you.
And then after this, the NHL just put out their little midseason top runners for the Calder. and Janeau is in there solidly in that 4 spot, which
Yeah.
I think is fair. I think that's a fair positioning for him. I think him being in the conversation is
good. Is good.
that I don't. He's not flashy enough of a player to outdo some of these bigger guns, but I still it's nice to. Yeah,
He's available in your league. That's funny.
Yeah,
Good one,
Mike
Mike
Twitter
Twitter.
said if he's available in your league is a joke.
That's right.
And I tend to agree with that sentiment.
Wait, we also missed a really funny comment from Mike Twitter's on fire tonight with some of these comments. He said earlier when we were talking about the Preds or Titans winning a championship, he actually brought up another Nashville team. Are y'all ready for this? He said the Nashville Sounds, the minor league baseball team, will be the next team to win a championship in Nashville. That's really sad, Mike Twitter. If that's who we got to lean on is our minor league baseball team to win a championship, then we're in rough times here.
Tough sledding.
Yeah. That's funny. Mike Twitter's on fire tonight, though. He's he's just shooting them out tonight.
Yep.
And I know you two probably saw this earlier because it was in our fantasy league group chat, but Phillip Forsberg on Instagram posted a story, and it's him and Janeau and Trennan on the plane, and his comment was sitting here with the future rookie of the year and the wildest haircut in the NHL, talking about Trennan.
Yeah.
And I don't know about y'all, but that makes me feel really good to see Phil.
Yeah.
He's sitting there, he's seatmates with Janeau. That I love that. That makes me, I might be reading a little bit too much into it, but that makes me think that Phil might be more interested in sticking around because he's building these relationships with these younger guys.
Yeah.
And he sees what that could possibly build into.
Fingers crossed, boys.
I know a lot of people would love to see him go, to get value out of him. I still hate to say it, but if he's not signed by trade deadline, that you probably need to. Just you can't let that walk.
Right.
I don't see Poyle doing it. I think Poyle thinks that he's going to sign him in the offseason.
I'd say he thinks the same thing.
Maybe they have a gentleman's agreement.
And let me kind of give you a little preview of the discussion with Hart, and to really tease everyone to go listen to it. But because we haven't shared this interview yet, we already recorded it earlier today. But I'm telling you that this trade, not the trade market, the free agent market this upcoming offseason, there's going to be a lot of competition out there. It's not just Phillip Forsberg that's going to be very intriguing when it comes to teams looking to add free agents. So it's really going to be what Forsberg gets in the open market. It's going to be really it's going to lean a lot on some of these other free agents that are going to be out there and what they get. So just because he's having a contract year doesn't mean that, you're going to have to follow the market here to really figure it out. So it's still very much up in the air what Forsberg is going to command if he does become a free agent. But
Poyle needs to get that check signed in hand ready, because that one's going to hurt when he has to sign that check for Forsberg.
I don't think it'll hurt that bad, though. And I'm telling you, the Preds have so much buying power right now. I mean, they're in a good spot with their cap situation.
It's just
so, I mean, I would be a lot more worried if the Preds cap situation was a mess right now. But the fact that they do have so much cap space, that makes me feel a little bit better about maybe being able to afford to pay Forsberg and not take a massive risk with him. There's always that chance that he just doesn't take it, and he does have a change of heart and decides to move on. I mean, that could happen. But anyway,
that might be why Poyle is saving all that money.
Don't want to think about it right now. So
yeah.
See, I we're winning the bet with Chad because he said he wasn't going to talk about it.
Oh yeah, it's impossible.
Oh, that's right.
I broke my new. I think I broke my New Year's resolution like 2 days later when I wrote an article for Predlines.
That's right.
Yeah,
yep.
I'm sorry, Chad.
That was the worst New Year's resolution I've probably ever made in my life. Like, it was never going to happen. But I tried. I tried. But you just can't help it. I mean, you really can't help it to think about it.
Breaking New Year's resolutions and making bad bets.
Because he just keeps on producing, so you can't help but think about it. It's not like he's having a terrible year and you're like, oh, yeah, this is easy. Let's get rid of him. Yeah. I mean, he's making it really, really difficult.
It's going to hurt.
In a good way. Obviously in a good way because he's just so fun to watch. But, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy. Let's get to do you have another pick, Kyle?
Got one more, and that's just simply back in the win column.
Oh, yeah.
They had the nice little, what was it, 4-game losing streak?
Yeah.
Pretty rough time there. Yeah. Everybody started freaking out a little bit. But the thing is, they stayed true to who they were as a team. There wasn't a bunch of wild lineup changes. The line stayed pretty much the same. The philosophy of play stayed pretty much the same. And I think that's very encouraging that they didn't start, okay, we're going to grasp at straws after every one of these, and you're going to see a whole new set of forward lines. You're going to see a whole new set of D pairs. No, we know this works. This game didn't go our way. We're going to roll this back out because we know it works. Once again, John Hines' favorite word, identity.
Yep.
They have to play to their identity. They really did that in the games against Detroit and Winnipeg because generally they just smothered them. They just physically enforced
I do gotta
their will
say,
on the other team.
I'll take 2 points any way you can get them, but that Detroit Red Wings game was a snoozer. I was having a hard time staying awake for that one.
Yeah, I got to watch the third period. That was it.
It wasn't a flashy game by any means. It wasn't pretty, but a team like the Predators, that's fine with them.
Yeah,
Predators love games like that. That fits into their style perfectly. Yeah. The uglier, the better.
Yeah, they're not a pretty team. You're not going to see many highlights of them on SportsCenter or anywhere like that.
Those points count the same, though.
That's right. I did see it was the next day when I finally saw the Benning fight. That was interesting. Watching him scrap a little bit there.
That fight lasted a half an hour.
I know, right? Yeah.
It was like, that was like a straight up boxing match. They really did let them go.
Those guys,
and it was very even. And it was even too. I mean, both guys got their shots in.
Yeah, they were just looking at him kind of like, can we stop now?
That was the highlight of that was definitely the highlight of that game.
Yeah, it was crazy.
But I think the Preds played a decent game, but I think it's more that game is the takeaway I get from that game is the Red Wings are really starting to trend backwards. Like they're kind of in panic mode right now because they were a nice little story at the early part of the season. Everyone's starting to think like, okay, now this rebuild, how much longer can it possibly go? Like it's time to start showing something here.
Right.
And
definitely.
I mean, they're kind of trending backwards right now, and they did not look good at all in that game against the Preds. They looked terrible.
Yeah, they were very undisciplined. I agree about the it was hard to stay awake for because I fell asleep on the couch. I can't say I didn't. I was sitting there with my little boy, and he fell asleep, and then
that's
it was one of them
but,
things.
I mean, both teams failed to get to 30 shots on goal. I mean, Red Wings went 0 for 5 on the power play. I mean, that's, it's just one of those games. Preds had 14 blocks, 17 giveaways. The Preds had 17 giveaways, and yet the Red Wings could only manage 1 goal. But but you'll take them any way you can get them.
Saros was probably like, man, this is a breath of fresh air, not having to face 40 shots.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
He's like, this is awesome.
That's perfect timing. Let's get into our clutch performers of the week. And I'm going to list my top 3, and then I'm going to let you guys react to it and give yours. And I got some surprises on mine. This was the hardest week I've had to come up with these out of every week we've done these.
I had to scratch
because I didn't have anything to take from the Vancouver game. I mean, that game was just terrible on all ends, really.
Yeah.
That game was really hard to find anybody who you could consider clutch. But the Winnipeg game was a good game to look at. Red Wings game, of course. My number 3 clutch performer of the week is someone that Kyle Perkins already brought up in his Perks picks, Matt Tennyson.
Yeah,
I'm showing Matt Tennyson some love. He put up 3 assists in his first 2 games with his new club as a journeyman NHL defenseman. There's no expectations for him. There's no hype. He's a plug-and-play player. He's a placeholder. And he came out and played some really, really strong hockey in the 2 Preds wins. And I think that's clutch. I think that's clutch to come to a new team and do what he did in those 2 games to contribute to 2 wins to help the Preds in their 4-game losing streak. So I gave Matt Tennyson my 3rd clutch performer of the week. Number two, I went UC Saros. Only had 2 starts, and both starts were wins. So he played a role in ending the losing streak. He made 64, I believe. Let's see here. Yeah, 64 saves on 67 shots faced for a 95 save percentage. Didn't have to face the high barrage of 40-plus shots like he has in the past recently. And what do you know? When you actually play some decent defense in front of Saros, he's a hell of a goaltender, probably one of the best in the league, if not the best in the league, when he's not having to face over 40 shots a game. And you did that for him. You did that for him in these 2 starts, and guess what he did? Only gave up 3 goals over 2 games. So he's my number 2. Number 1 for this week, he's making his first appearance on Clutch Performers, Phillip Thomasino.
Yep.
Because
After
the kid is
not glowing grade.
But that's for the whole season, Rich. That's not for this past week. Phillip Thomasino, I alluded to this earlier. He is trending in the right direction. He's starting to figure things out. He's starting to round out his game, just like we saw Eeli Tolvanen do over his time of developing. Yep. And I think it's important to remember that he had so much hype on him coming into this season. That's all we could talk about, Rich, going into the season, right, on this podcast, was absolutely. Phillip Thomasino watch. Is Phillip Thomasino going to start in the season opener? It's all people could talk about. It was one of the main storylines of the preseason. And he is starting to figure some things out. He had a really strong week. He had, he had 1 goal, 2 assists, 8 shots on goal, even put up 3 hits against Detroit. So, I mean, you don't think about Phillip Thomasino getting hits, right? But even Phillip Thomasino is starting to buy into the identity of this team a little bit. So big kudos to Thomasino. He had a really, really good week for the Preds. So I'm going to give him my number 1 clutch performer.
Awesome.
Dissect.
Cool. Hey, man, that Tennyson one, I actually looked at that one too. That is strong. And when you frame it the way you framed it, it's coming up, getting called up to play in the NHL. After being in the AHL for a while, 3 points. That's awesome.
And I can promise you that Matt Tennyson's agent did not call me and ask me to do this.
Absolutely.
All right.
I agree.
All right. One of y'all want to go? Give you we'll go with Kyle. Your clutch performance.
You know, even though he missed the last game because of the old COVID protocol, I would throw Tolvanen in there. That goal he had in the Winnipeg game, where he bats the puck down and then scored it.
Yeah, that was good.
That's clutch.
That was the first goal of the game, wasn't it? That opened up the scoring.
It was. That was the first goal of the game.
That's clutch because the Preds are on a 4-game losing streak, so you really needed that first goal.
Yeah, and that was it. It was at 4 minutes and 43 seconds of the first period. And the assists on that goal were Benning and Thomasino. So two other guys that we talk about that's doing decent things.
Yep.
But
I like it.
Yeah, I really hope Tovy's back very soon.
So, I agree.
Yeah, you don't want Tolvanen to miss any extended time when he was finally starting to get hot again. You know, like that's like because then if he does miss a lot of games, then he's got to come back and maybe shake off some rust, and you just don't want to see that. But
that's what happened last year.
But
he was playing awesome and got hurt.
He's yet another player on this team, though, that's had a lot of bad puck luck this year. Of course, we've talked about it plenty of times. So I think he's starting to figure it out as well. It's really good. It's really good things that are happening for the Preds once some of these other players who've had some bad luck this year, they all start figuring it out at the same time that you got Phillip Forsberg and Roman Josi, and all them. I mean, watch out. Suddenly this team can actually put up some goals if they all figure it out.
Absolutely.
So many people scoring. It's pretty wild to see it spread out like that.
It is spread out. Yep.
And then you have Duchene and Forsberg, who are both on pace to shatter, not break, shatter the single season record for the Predators.
How cool would it be if two players in the same season broke the goal record for a single season? That'd be pretty cool. They might end up racing each other. I know they're not trying to race each other, but like watching it from the outside in as a fan, it might be kind of interesting to see which player ends up with more goals when it's all said and done.
So I'm going to show my nerd a little bit, and I got to imagine it's like Legolas and Gimli from Lord of the Rings. When they're fighting the orcs and they'll kill one and one of them will yell at the other one, "That's one." Yeah, I've already got 3. Yeah, just back and forth. I imagine it's something along those lines.
So who ends up with more goals? I can't help but ask. Who ends up with more goals? Rich, who do you think? Forsberg or Duchene? Assuming they both play most of the games left.
I'm gonna say Forsberg. Contract year Forsberg. Yeah, I think so.
Considering Forsberg has one more goal than Duchene, and I think he has how many? I know Phil's had 30 games.
Definitely fewer games.
Yeah. Duchene's had 39 games and Phil's had 30. Yeah. So, yeah, I think Phil will probably – if they both play out the season, nothing else happens, I believe Phil will end up with more goals than Duchene. Mm-hmm. But I'll say this. I believe – Phil will have more goals and Duchene will have more points.
Yes. That's definitely a good bet there.
Yep.
Just because, Forsberg's not a big assist guy. I'm not saying he doesn't get assists, but it's just he's never been a big assist guy. So,
that's true.
Yeah. Just different style, different playing style.
Yep. Agreed.
All right, Rich, how would you change my list? My clutch performers list.
Your number 3 Tennyson is good because I actually, like I said, I was going to put him on there. I put Forsberg as number 3. He got 2 goals and an assist since coming back from being off for so long. 2-point night against Detroit. He's just doing awesome Forsberg things. So I think that's awesome.
Pretty much every game. He's
pretty much, yeah.
But I gotta say, Rich, I didn't put him in there because he didn't get a point in the other 2 games of the week. He didn't get a point against Winnipeg. He didn't get a point against Vancouver.
Yep.
And that's why I didn't put him in there.
Yeah, that's what made
it so tough. He only had 1 shot on goal against Winnipeg. He was pretty. Despite the team playing very well, that was one of your rare games where the team dominated a great game, but Forsberg wasn't a main part of the reason why. That doesn't happen very often.
No,
but,
absolutely.
That's why I didn't put Forsberg in.
Yeah. So number 2, I had Saros as well for my number 2, just like you did. The 2 bounce back wins needed that. You already said it. He only allowed 3 goals in those 2 games. He's actually tied for second in wins at all of the NHL goaltenders right now. So, yeah, I think that's pretty darn good. So then number 1, I gave it to Matt Duchene just for his 3-point night in Detroit, man. He looked awesome. It's fun to watch. Like he said. And he's got 4 points in 4 games if you average that out. So, doing well.
There you go.
Well. I like it.
This will be the only time in history that I put Matt Tennyson ahead of Phil Forsberg on any list.
It's good.
Please do not pull my hockey card from me, my hockey fan card from me, that I just put Tennyson ahead of Forsberg.
No, it's good. 3 points in 2 games for being called up. That's pretty strong, I think. So
Yep.
All right.
I think it's pretty indicative of Nashville's fan base of blue collar people.
Yeah.
So we appreciate those kind of guys.
Yep. Absolutely.
A couple things we want to share here before we get to heart of Puckpedia and we get to that interview. A couple interesting things. For one, I saw a really cool question put out there from NHL Watcher at NHL_Watcher. A pretty good account to follow. Put a lot of fun stuff out there. Put a really good question out here. I think we can all go around the room and answer it here. Which NHL team needs to rebrand the most, in your opinion? Talking logo and or jersey. Rich,
that's good.
Who's your team? If you got to pick one team in the NHL that needs to really rebrand.
Is it just one? I got three.
I mean, you can pick more.
All right, I got three. I'll go through them real quick. So the number one is the Columbus Blue Jackets. I don't like their jerseys at all. I think they're too busy. Except they do have that one alternate jersey with the cannon on it. I think that one's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Their color scheme, their color scheme's kind of boring. Like I feel like
it's really
not a lot of creativity.
Yeah.
Blue Jackets is kind of a I don't know, not a very intimidating name at all.
Weird. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good one. Okay.
Yeah. So the second one, this is obviously not because of how well they play, but the Colorado Avalanche. I do not care for their color combo at all. I just don't like it. But
I didn't see that coming.
I do like that reverse retro with the Nordiques logo on there.
Yeah, we're not talking about alternate jerseys. We're just talking about straight up their main brand.
Saying,
no, their reverse retro is one of the best.
Combos. Yeah.
Their reverse retro is one of the best.
It's one of my favorites. So the other one is the St. Louis Blues. I don't like their jerseys at all. The logo, I know it's like the logo they've had forever.
Very basic.
I don't know. And I don't even like their reverse retro jersey either. So redo them. And people complain about the Preds jerseys a lot too, saying they're too much gold. So
if we're going to talk about the Preds in this instance, you can maybe figure out a way to rebrand the jersey, but the logo itself, they better never change the logo itself, because that is one of the best logos out there.
Yeah, the logo is great.
Jersey though,
just some silver on the sleeves. Do some navy or silver down the sleeves just to break it up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, look,
I think you
can see it right here. Look, it's all everything.
It's perfect. We can look at it right now and see.
Yeah, it's the go. Not that I don't like it. I really like it. I like their home.
By the way, Kyle's wearing his badass Renegades of Puck jersey.
That's
yes,
right.
sir.
Why don't you tell us
his name on the back?
Tell us a little bit about it. Tell us a little bit about how the jersey was made, who made it.
Oh, I disappeared. So these are from Rebirth Sports. You can see it's got the Renegades of Puck logo on
cool
it.
Jersey.
I love it. They're super nice, very high quality. It's got my name on the back of it, so that's awesome. Cool. And they've been given out to some pretty cool people around Nashville, and it's pretty neat to be part of that.
It's
really cool jersey.
I love it. I love it.
So what's your number? Is it 86?
86.
Why'd you pick 86?
So that was the year I was born. But it's my Twitter name is KPERK86, and I've never really said why it was 86. But I'm not that creative. So
all right, cool.
All right, Kyle, give us a team you think might need a rebrand.
The Ottawa Senators. You could do so much cool stuff with that, the Roman theme.
Yeah.
And it's good. Their logo and everything is just so bland. It looks like the cheapest high school logo you've ever seen. It bothers me that you have this. Oh, I got to disagree with Mike Twitter. He said my pick would go to the Dallas Stars, the Kelly Green. I don't love it coming from the Madonna style jersey gold and forest green. I love the Stars jerseys. I hate the Stars, but I love their jerseys.
Somewhat,
I like the white and green ones.
Not super. It wasn't super recently, but the Stars are one of those teams that did kind of rebrand themselves like over the last it happened within the last 10 years, I would say,
something like that.
Yeah, but I don't have they got a pretty cool logo.
I love their Monster Energy can alternates.
Yeah. Now their mascot,
the black with the neon green. Oh my!
Now their mascot is so dumb and corny though. Their mascot, Victory is his name. Victory. He's like this little green blob that runs around
Victory Green.
We had a really fun. One of the first episodes we ever did was we talked about all the mascots, and it was a lot of fun. We put all the mascots up there and ranked them. It was good. I think Victory got some bad votes. I can't remember exactly, but all right. Here's my team that I would rebrand, and I feel like it's a easy home run, walk in the park. This should be a team that needs to rebrand. The Ducks should go back to being called the Mighty Ducks. Wear the Mighty Ducks jerseys. Change the logo back. You would sell so much merchandise. It would be nostalgia. All your on the fence fans who don't have a team really. How easy would it be to cheer for a team called the Mighty Ducks? Their current jerseys are so ugly, if you ask me. I mean, it's like a D with such a boring logo. It's just a D with and the color scheme, the orange and black is just it's just not very appeasing to me. And plus, I don't like the Ducks anyway. But yes, that seems like a home run marketing strategy. If I was running the Ducks, we're gonna go back to being called the Mighty Ducks.
Mike Twitter said that's 100%, Chad.
I don't think anybody would be mad about that. I literally think that would be the one thing in hockey.
I got to tell you something. There is somebody who'd be mad about that, and that is that mouse that owns the Mighty Ducks branding name.
The Disney,
cut them back in as long as they get paid.
I don't think Disney would allow that anymore.
I didn't think about that
anymore. So
I didn't think about that.
You're right. If they were smart, they'd come up with something, work out some kind of deal where they could use that Mighty Ducks. That would be awesome. But I think the mouse might have a little something to say about that, unfortunately.
And the mouse has a lot of power.
The mouse has the most power out of anybody, just about. So
yeah,
absolutely. But you're right. They are pretty bland.
They're just uninspiring. I mean, the Kings jerseys are black and white, and they look more exciting than the Ducks jerseys that are orange.
I heard the Kings were going to go back to that the black and white, but with that crown logo from the 90s.
That would be sweet.
Yeah, you remember when everybody was wearing those hats? You probably don't remember. You're younger, but those hats that said Los Angeles Raiders, they were just black with stitching, and Los Angeles Kings.
Yeah,
that era. That's when they had those really cool logo jerseys. So,
all right,
awesome.
One more thing before we get out of here. What we got?
I was just gonna say the Panthers could use a redo now that they're actually good.
Yeah, true.
That's true.
True.
Arby does not look good in the black and white.
Yeah, see, my Twitter remembers all the West Coast rappers. They all had Los Angeles Kings and Raiders hats. That's right. Absolutely.
So I think the Florida Panthers might be one of the best teams ever to not be talked about. It's they are such a really good, strong team, and nobody seems to talk about them except for the really diehard hockey nerds.
Dominant this year. They are absolutely bodying people.
Except last night. They weren't last night.
So I want to share one more thing before we get to the interview with Hart and we move on to episode 99 with our interview with Hart of Puckpedia. We'll get the reaction real quick from the guys on this. MoneyPuck.com just recently put out their playoff odds, and I could not believe how high they got the Predators. 91% chance of making the playoffs, 46% chance of making the second round, 23% of making the third round, 13% to make the final, and 5.8% chance of winning the cup. So you're saying there's a chance.
There's a chance. Just like You're saying there's a chance.
I'm 91% chance to make the playoffs, according to MoneyPuck.com. They got Florida ranked as the highest team. Colorado's number 3, Tampa's number 4 or number 3, Carolina number 4. Your usual suspects, but the Preds are right up there, above 90% for playoff odds.
It's a lot better than the
surprising.
0.264 or whatever they were last year.
Yeah.
I
remember. Well, we all remember it. Just counting down the days and watching the scoreboard, watching for so long. Like, are they going to make it in? Are they going to make it in? And they finally did. But
on the flip side of the coin, a team like the Edmonton, according to MoneyPuck.com, now only have a 54% to make the playoffs. Just that team is a mess right now. But
and then they're going to add Evander Kane to that dumpster fire. So
oh my gosh,
that'll make
and they just let go of our good buddy Kyle Turks.
I saw that.
Never worked out.
Hey man, that
guy.
dude,
all right.
How many teams is he getting paid by now?
I don't know. All right, it's been a really fun episode 99. We're going on. We're going to end the episode. Stay tuned. Download the podcast the next day if you're watching the stream right now. We are moving on to our awesome interview with Hart of Puckpedia to talk NHL trade deadline, to talk about the Preds cap situation, talk about Phillip Forsberg, contract negotiations. Had a really, really awesome interview with him. Stay tuned for that. This 99 of Catfish on Ice, brought to you by DraftKings with Chad, Rich, Howe, and Kyle.
Have a good one.